Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Podcast, the only news show where the host has read exactly one book cover to cover, and it was a Bass Pro Shop catalog from 2007. Now, folks, buckle in, grab a Mountain Dew, maybe a banana if tariffs ain't slammed it into the luxury category, because today's news ain't just a mixed bag. It's like someone put world politics, grocery prices, and a possum with rage issues in a dryer and hit permanent press. We got Venezuela heating up, China cooling down, Trump reversing course harder than me trying to parallel park, the Supreme Court debating what the word arrive means. Spoiler, it's apparently complicated, and the stock market acting like a roller coaster designed by Wile E. Coyote. So let's jump into the madness before the madness jumps into us. Segment 1. Operation Southern Spear, the Muscle Showdown. All right, y'all, first big story today. The U.S. has rolled up on Venezuela with the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is the biggest, baddest aircraft carrier we got. This thing's got more power than my Uncle Randy's F-250 that he still insists can outrun the law if necessary, even though it can't outrun a bicyclist anymore. We're talking 12,000 troops, F-35s, Reaper drones. Basically, the entire cast of Top Gun: The Extended Universe showed up to tell Nicolas Maduro, "Hey buddy, we're looking at you." They're calling it Operation Southern Spear, because nothing says calm, professional diplomacy like naming your mission after a medieval murder stick. And apparently, this is the biggest U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, since we decided to give Panama the world's least subtle surprise visit. Back in '89, Rear Admiral Paul Lanzalotta says we're there to protect our nation's security and prosperity. Which is government talk for, you don't want none of this smoke. But here's the kicker. They say it's about counter-narcotics, but no one can agree on whether these folks they blew up had drugs, boats, intentions, or just bad luck. And if you're like me thinking, shouldn't we maybe check the boats before blowing them up? Hold on, cowboy. That's old thinking. Now we skip right to the kaboom. It's like the Pentagon said, have we tried violence, but faster? Let me tell you, nothing confuses a redneck more than the government suddenly wanting fewer boats on the water. Boats are sacred. If they start taking out John boats next, I'm calling my congressman and asking if this is personal. Segment 2. Lethal Kinetic Strikes, the new don't ask, don't tell, just kaboom policy. So apparently we've moved from stop the boat and check for drugs to blow up anything that looks floatable. There have been at least 21 lethal strikes since September, more than 80 people dead, and the government still ain't shared evidence that any of them were actually traffickers. No photos, no manifests, not even a blurry Bigfoot-style screenshot. And the UN rights people are like, hey America, maybe you should not do extrajudicial boat murder. And the UK is like, we will not be giving y'all our spy stuff if you're gonna go full Call of Duty without patch notes. But the craziest part, experts are like, hey, if you blow up smugglers, you can't interrogate smugglers, which seems like something a middle schooler could have pointed out. Imagine if the sheriff in my hometown started blowing up every Ford Ranger that didn't use a turn signal. Sure, the roads would be quiet, but we'd learn absolutely nothing about where the meth is coming from. Segment 3. The Cartel of the Suns. Real cartel or spicy imagination? Marco Rubio says the Cartel of the Suns is now a terrorist organization. And apparently this cartel is run by Maduro and basically every Venezuelan official with an office, a hat, or a laminated ID badge. But then experts come in like, yeah, that cartel ain't real in the way y'all think it's real. So this is like designating the people who steal tools from my garage as a terrorist organization. Sure, it feels real to me, especially when my socket set goes missing. But it ain't exactly Al-Qaeda. But labeling Maduro a terrorist gives Trump legal cover to go harder militarily. Because in Washington, if you call something terrorism, suddenly every button on the table becomes a perfectly reasonable option. And then Trump says maybe he'll talk to Maduro. So we've gone full NASCAR here. Gas pedal down, emergency breakup, drift into a peace talk like it's turn 3 at Talladega. Segment 4. The Epstein Files, Plot Twist Edition. Trump wakes up today and suddenly wants all the Epstein files released. Just like that. One Truth Social post later, boom, total reversal. It's like when a redneck says he's gonna quit drinking and then someone mentions there's free beer. Now he's saying, we have nothing to hide, which is something people say right before you find out they got something to hide. MTG is mad because she spent weeks screaming about this, and now Trump snatched the issue right out of her hands, like the last biscuit at Cracker Barrel. And Thomas Massie thinks the White House created fake investigations just to block the release earlier. Imagine the government making up more government to hide government. That's government squared. Nobody should have that much government. Segment 5. Trump versus the BBC, the transatlantic yeehaw. Trump wants to sue the BBC for up to $5 billion because they edited a clip of him weirdly during a 2024 documentary. The BBC apologized, the director resigned, the editor resigned. Half the UK probably resigned out of awkwardness. But the BBC also said, "Sir, the documentary didn't even air in the United States, so how exactly were you harmed? And honestly, that's fair. If I fell off a porch in Tennessee, I wouldn't sue a guy in Wales for watching it on TikTok." But Trump is determined. Man loves lawsuits like raccoons love dumpsters. Segment 6. Tariffs reversed. The affordability miracle. Trump is now rolling back tariffs on groceries, coffee, tea, fruit, beef, bananas, basically everything you buy when you're desperately trying to meal prep on a budget. This is after 2 years of tariffs making groceries so expensive that even my cousin who hunts year-round said, "Dang, maybe I should start eating vegetables." White House aides apparently told Trump voters were mad about prices, which is like telling a fish water is wet. But hey, if it lowers my grocery bill, I will personally send the president a thank you note written on a Slim Jim wrapper. Segment 7. The China Truce. Soybeans save the world. The US and China have called a temporary truce. Tariffs are paused, soybeans are flowing, and both sides basically said, let's stop hitting each other with hammers while the economy is still fragile. China also agreed to stop fentanyl precursors heading to North America, which is a big deal. Meanwhile, the US backed off some tariff stuff, extended exclusions, and paused an investigation. Essentially, it's, we'll behave if you behave, which is exactly the kind of deal I tried to negotiate with my cousins when we were kids. It never worked then, either. But the national security stuff? Still bad. China said nope to Trump's nuclear talks. Their arsenal is exploding in size like my cousin's waistline after discovering deep-fried Twix. Segment 8. Operation Charlotte's Web, not the book you remember. DHS rolled into Charlotte like they were filming the season finale of Cops Tactical Edition. Over 130 people arrested, some for real crimes, others for existing while brown, according to the governor. And Governor Stein is furious. He says agents are wearing masks, using unmarked cars, targeting citizens, scaring everybody, and profiling like it's Black Friday and they're searching for deals. There's even a viral video of a U.S. citizen being thrown to the ground yelling, "I am a citizen." which is not something you normally have to announce unless you're in a Jason Bourne movie. But the weirdest part? The operation's name, Charlotte's Web. That was a children's book about a talking pig and a kind spider. This operation involves neither pigs nor kindness. Segment 9. Shutdown cost, the $5 billion nothing burger. The 43-day shutdown cost $5 billion in back pay alone. That's $5 billion spent to accomplish the exact same amount of work I do on Sundays. 0. Now we got another deadline in January, and only 17 working days left in 2025, which means Congress is basically speed-running dysfunction. Meanwhile, the Fed missed economic data because the shutdown closed government offices. That's like trying to drive blindfolded, but insisting everything is fine because you can still smell the road. Segment 10. Supreme Court defining arrive like it's a spelling bee. The court is hearing a case about metering, where agents tell asylum seekers the port is full, even when it's emptier than a Bass Pro parking lot at 4 a.m. The whole case hinges on the word arrive. The Ninth Circuit says if you show up at the border asking for asylum, you've arrived. The administration says nope, you only arrive when we say you arrive, which is the legal equivalent of a bouncer saying, you're not on the list, even when the nightclub is literally just him and a Roomba. If the court sides with the government, the U.S. could legally turn off asylum processing like flipping a light switch, which is wild because immigration law was not meant to function like a clapper. Segment 11. Market madness, AI smackdown. Stocks slid today except for the Nasdaq, which twitched upward like a caffeinated squirrel. Nvidia is stumbling because everyone's scared the AI bubble might pop, while Alphabet soared because Warren Buffett bought in. And if that man invests in something, it becomes holy scripture. Investors are torn between Nvidia's "we build the future" and Alphabet's "we keep the lights on and sell ads." And honestly, both seem important. But Buffett betting on Alphabet is like your grandma betting on church instead of crypto. Meanwhile, wages for lower-income families went up 1%, while inflation hit 3%. That means basic survival now costs more than the raise you waited 6 months for. Even ramen ain't recession-proof anymore. Segment 12. Weather, America's mood swings. California's flooding. The Northeast is snowing. The Sierra Nevadas getting buried. And Governor Hochul declared Crash Responder Safety Week, which is very polite government talk for quit hittin' the tow trucks. Also, the FAA finally ended flight restrictions after the shutdown, so America's airports are now back to their natural state. Chaos, delays, and one guy yelling at a gate agent like it's gonna make the plane fly faster. In conclusion, today is a perfect snapshot of this administration's vibe. Maximum force abroad, maximum confusion at home, and maximum plot twists everywhere else. We're blowing up boats in the Caribbean, suing the BBC, unsuing grocery stores through tariff rollbacks, playing nuclear chicken with China while also trading soybeans, arresting people in Charlotte like it's a live-action video game, and asking the Supreme Court what the word arrive means, as if Webster's dictionary hasn't existed for 200 years. It's a lot. But y'all made it through another episode of the Poorly Educated podcast, which means you're stronger, wiser, and possibly dumber in equal measure. And that's balance, baby. Tune in next time, and remember, if the news feels overwhelming, just imagine it all as a cartoon. Turns out it already is.